All right, today is June 25th, 2024. We are one day removed from the Florida Panthers winning the first Stanley Cup in franchise history. So we're going to talk about some hockey tonight, some Panthers hockey, some hockey. But first, those that don't know, that music rings very close.
Now it just reminds me of Sean McDonough, which is a no-go.
It reminds me of Gary Thorne and Bill Clement. That's what that song, that music takes me back to those good old days, because that was prime hockey commentary. Thorne and Clement running the whatever was it, Wednesday night hockey. There was, I think it was Monday night. Man, they had a couple of hockey nights. It was really cool.
Oh, how far we've fallen to now the ESPN commentary.
Well, it used to be great, like Jeff's saying, but oh man, Sean McDonough calling a Stanley Cup. Anyway, that's not important. That's not what I took away from the series. But God, that dude is bad at his job.
Well, his voice cracks when he gets real excited, especially in football games. It gets up there and then it cracks real bad. And you're just like, come on, Sean. I can't believe he's the A-team broadcaster for where's Mike Emmerich?
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Where's Panger and Mike Emmerich? That's what we need.
The most prestigious playoff in all of sports. That's what we got.
Yeah, Sean McDonough. I mean, Ferraro was really getting into it, but
Ferraro's pretty good.
Yeah,
he's pretty good on ice stuff. But man, McDonough it's hard listening to that guy for 7-game series. It's like the Joe Buck of hockey.
Probably worse. Anyway, hope he's not listening.
Big fan.
I'm sure he's not.
Congratulations to the Florida Panthers.
Look, man,
dominate the conversation.
Bobrovsky, he was shit for the first 2 years in Florida, and then he's really good, and then he goes in the crapper for 3 games and has you really about to rip your hair out. And then last night he looked like prime Hasek after the first goal. He shouldn't. Yeah. He should have stopped that, but after that, they did nothing.
Yeah, that first goal, I was like, all right, yep, here we go.
And I was like, the Demons already got him.
Now, to the other team's credit, there are a lot of hard shots that I think his teammates helped him out on as well. So, which I thought was important, because that was a big problem with some of those other 3 games, is that some of those shots, completely on Bob, but then some of it is, all right, well, his teammates aren't really helping him out either. And are putting him in very difficult situations. But I think the team as a whole defensively came together and was able to hold out the Oilers.
That was the difference. I mean, that's how Florida was this year. I said 2 weeks ago how boring I thought the Cup was, and it's not a knock, but Florida, last year they had to rely on their offense more. They had to score goals because the goaltending wasn't there till the playoffs.
True.
Took them all the way to the Cup, but they were the highest scoring team last year. And this year they completely changed how they played. They were much more responsible, hard forechecking, really, really tight in the neutral zone. And I mean, they just took McDavid out of it last night, and that's exactly what they needed to do.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they did the first 3 games, and good on them. I honestly, personally, did not think Florida would find that game again, but
me either.
It was
they did. Yeah.
I had no faith. Sorry, Murph. I had no faith in their ability to win a Game 7 after the previous 3 games we just saw, especially Game 6 when they just. I mean that might as well been. Oilers might as well have been practicing. That day. I mean that was no contest from Florida. Put up no fight.
Maurice even put it best. Is like it was such a Panthers fashion to win out this way, where we make it so much more difficult on ourselves. It's like you're in the home stretch and just cannot. We had to wait 3 more extra games to finally clinch the Stanley.
Finally, and then you forget how good Florida really is.
Yeah.
If you're a prisoner of the last 3 moments, recency bias. You're thinking, man, what is the deal with this team? I mean, they would turn the puck over. I mean, I think Edmonton had like 13 odd man rushes or something or some ridiculous number like
crazy.
that. It was just insane. I mean, just turning pucks over in the neutral zone, and then Edmonton's off on a 3-on-1, and bang, boom, right in. And you're just like, what's he supposed to do? What's Bob supposed to do? It's 3-on-1 with, a team in the finals. I mean, they're gonna put those away. You can't stop them all. But he was not getting a lot of help.
Yeah,
in front of him.
Tkachuk had one of the most crazy saves in that one game that I've ever seen in hockey. And it still didn't matter. They still went in and scored anyway. It's just that was the tempo.
Yeah.
Speaking of Tkachuk and some of the other big names, like props to the depth up and down Florida's lineup. They remind me of Vegas a lot last year, but props to Evan Rodriguez.
Oh yeah, former.
Some of these other guys. I thought Luosterainen had a decent series for the most part, just up and down the lineup. They were contributing. Like Barkov didn't have a great series.
No.
Defensively he had some really good games, but he wasn't lighting up the score sheet. Reinhart didn't do a ton, obviously the huge goal last night. Verhaeghe had 2 goals, I think. Tkachuk didn't really fill up the score sheet, So that's what impressed me is obviously the big guns got it done last night, but even early in the series, I thought Edmonton in game 1 and game 3 played good enough to win. Bobrovsky was ultimately the difference, but, particularly that third line for Florida and, I think Rodriguez was on their second line throughout the series. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah.
Stanley
I'm a
Cup
big fan of Bennett as well. I like Bennett a lot.
Yeah, Sam Bennett. It's just it was incredible to me. I thought Florida would come in honestly and dominate 5-on-5. And whenever they were out of the penalty box and not turning the puck over at the blue line, that was sort of true.
That was becoming a problem there.
For sure, like we'd have the power plays, and one of the guys his stick just breaks. Is that crap?
Really?
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe that. Like 6 for 6 on breakaways and
for the Oilers,
how many shorthanded goals.
Props to Skinner as well. Skinner really struggled, but then I think he kind of found his groove along with McDavid, and sadly fell apart at the end. But I thought Skinner did a pretty good job as goalie as well.
I mean, if you get to game 7 in the finals, you've got to have some good goaltending on both sides at some point. Probably have some bad as well, which is how you got to 7 games, but you probably had some pretty good. And you don't see many game 7 goalie meltdowns. Usually when game 7 hits,
yeah.
I mean, just something about it. Those goalies die before they give one up. And I thought for a while when it was 1-1, I was like, this is going to be almost in a group text. Like, this is going to be one of those 4 overtimes games,
I thought it could have gone that way. Yeah,
like
for sure.
60 shots or something. And then you're going to have like Uwe Krupp somewhere, a defenseman, rip a shot from the blue line that just goes over top shoulder in the 4th overtime or something.
Yeah.
Or like that. Was it that Flyers? Who did the Flyers play that time? There was like 6 overtimes and Primo scored in like the 6th overtime. The game was like 5.5 hours long. I can't remember who they played in that playoff game. But yeah, dude, it's good playoff hockey is you can't, if you don't know it, it's hard to beat. good playoff hockey. Stanley
I think
Cup
that's
hockey.
why it's the best, in my opinion.
Agreed.
There's nothing quite like it.
Why I can't figure out why Sean McDonough is calling the game.
Yeah, it's the hardest trophy to win. That was
absolutely agree.
For how, I don't want to say it was poor quality hockey, but for how like lopsided, like it was Panthers dominating, Oilers dominating. I think the Oilers played a little better than maybe they were given credit for in games 1 and 3, like I said. But how memorable this cup's going to be for how lopsided just amazes me. Like, I probably won't forget this one for a while. Some of the other ones last year, kind of forgettable.
Yeah.
The Blues Boston Cup, great series, but game 7 was a blowout. Like, I don't remember a whole lot from it,
I forgot that game was a blowout.
But I think just the storylines are incredible. It was a fun series in the end.
I was content with having this be boring, but I'll settle for this too.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. However it needs to be, where I get the cup in the end, I'll be fine with it.
Yeah.
I like that for what's his name? that started his career with Florida, and he's back. He came back for, I guess, the last couple of years. Older defenseman, I think. He didn't play last night. He was a
shoot. Cousins, is that what you're talking about?
Is that his name? I can't think of his name, but they were talking about him last night on the broadcast about how, this could be his last NHL, game, because he's been in the league 17 years or something. And when coach told him before the game that he wasn't going to play, that he was just like whatever the team needs, to do, I'll do. If you need me to cheer from the booth, I will. Wherever the team needs me, I'll be. And I thought that was a good story. That I mean, to get your name on the cup, do you have to play in the series, or you just have to be an official on the roster?
You have to at least be in the playoffs, or from what I understand.
Okay.
There's there's playoff rosters. Like I know the Penguins got dudes that didn't even play on the cup, but they traveled with the team. They were like taxi squad, but
I know because baseball too.
Yeah. Or they get rings. I think you're right, Murph. As long as you play one game, you can get your name on the cup. But
so I think he did play in the playoffs some. I think he played in the series, and then they were just making a point of saying that he had, it was all everything on the table for Game 7 of the finals. So it's like don't really have room in rotation for your skill set today, or we're going to do more of this approach. Doesn't really fit, but he was very good about it, and so I was happy that Florida won. So even if that is his last game, he gets to watch his team win.
And also
just figure out who this is, because
it might be Nick Cousins.
I think you may be right.
Cousins isn't
he didn't seem that old though.
He's 30. I don't think he's retired.
No, it was somebody that was this was their 17th year in the league, and they'd started their career with Florida. Went elsewhere.
Ozo got drafted by the Islanders.
Came back.
But God, this contract.
Who was it? Oh, I can't think of the guy's name. But I remember them talking about him because I just remember thinking to myself that.
But while Scott looks that up, just also crazy that it's the 30th anniversary for the Florida Panthers.
Is it their 30th anniversary?
30th anniversary for the Florida Panthers.
Is it?
Wow. It's been a long and hard road for them. We're kind of the butt of the joke for a good bit. Couldn't even give away free tickets for a while. But
they've been in the finals before.
Yeah, but could have easily been in Atlanta Thrashers, where they go somewhere else, and we read about the name in Wikipedia. But Broward County saw something there, and they chose to give them a second life, and then now here we are.
Here you are, back-to-back finals, and then they won it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, they knocked out my Flyers in '96. The Beezer, Van Beesbrook, and Niedermeyer were the faces of the franchise way back then, and then got swept by the Rockies in the finals. That was that game. It was only Game 4, but that Game 4, that went 4 overtimes or 3 overtimes, and Patrick Waugh and Van Beesbrook were just saving everything, and then they lost. Beezer gave it up 1-0 in 4 overtimes.
Yeah,
Patrick Waugh had 68 saves in that game. It was just insane. It was Game 4. It was a sweep, but it was just one of the most memorable games just because of how long that went in that Game 4. I think it was Game 4. I think it was a sweep that year.
Yeah,
so it's not like the Panthers just now tasted success. They've reached it before. They've had success before.
They've always been close, but always the bridesmaid, never the bride. It seemed.
Are they poised to repeat? Is the team structured, or are a lot of veterans going to tap out? And
I'm sure you'll see. But I've followed around the Florida Panthers around 2019, 2020 during the heat of COVID, and you can see kind of a trajectory that the Florida Panthers have been taking, just slowly improving. And even I remember when Paul Maurice, it's funny to think about now, but when he first started, I wasn't really a big fan of him. But then he found his footing, and now he's got a hell of a bullet point on his resume, even though he's been doing it forever.
30 years.
Yeah, since 1987, I saw. So pretty wild.
Man, let me ask you something in terms of TV. Fonz, how do you watch all the Penguins games? Do you guys have? Is a center ice or a center ice still?
ESPN Plus.
That's what I
now.
used to.
Okay.
I got to watch every Florida Panthers game through it.
Through ESPN Plus?
Well, you might have the occasional TNT game, but yeah, pretty much any hockey.
Yeah, TNT or ABC or ESPN, but you get
I wasn't sure
probably
if there was
70.
still like a center ice thing like there is with the MLB TV or Sunday Ticket. You know, I don't know if there was a
I think they do
center
have
ice
like
still
a
thing.
NHL package, but the ESPN Plus, we got it through like Hulu anyways, so it's just kind of an added bonus.
Yeah. I got to figure out how I can. I'm watching these finals. You know, it was fun watching hockey again on a regular basis. The Flyers have been dog poop for so long; it's just deflating. Watching your team finish, 20 points out of a playoff spot for 5 straight years, just like, man, seriously.
When's the last time Flyers won the cup?
The Flyers?
1975.
I say I wasn't even born yet. My parents had just gotten married.
Yeah.
But we do have the distinct honor of being swept in 97 with our best shot, I thought, with prime Legion of Doom, prime Lindros, had no goaltending. We played 2 different goaltenders in a 4-game series. In a 4-game sweep, we played 2 different goalies. So, we had no shot. As soon as he pulled the goalie after game 1, we were like, well, that's the series. This is not coming back and yanked the goalie after game 1. It's over. And then we got killed. And then we lost to the Blackhawks in 2010, I think, in 6 games. That was Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves when, Kane was like 22 and just flying all over the place. And Taves was just a beast. And they had Dustin Bufflin or whatever, that big 280-pound goon that played for the Thrashers for a couple of years. I did get to see him play for the Thrashers a couple of times, but and then Anthony Niemi, the goalie for the Blackhawks that year, is just out of his mind, and we lost them. But that's the closest we've come, 97 and 2010, and then we've had many heartbreaks. In 2000, I think 2000 or 2001, we went up 3-1 on the Devils in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I bought a plane ticket to Pennsylvania. And 2 nights later, and then we lost 3 straight and lost game 7. And I was up in Pennsylvania. I'd flown up there because my cousins live up there. I flew up there. We were like going up there. I'd plan on staying like 8 or 9 days, long enough to watch the Stanley Cup Finals up there because the Flyers were going to be in it, man. 3-1. And I flew up there and we lost game 6 and lost game 7 while I was up there. And I was just like, unbelievable. That Scott Stevens, that's when he KO'd Lindros that final time when he left him as a crippled corpse in the middle of the ice, and my hopes and dreams shattered. Yeah, that was that series, and oh man, that was a tough plane ride.
Can imagine.
And then we were up there, and then I think the Devils beat the Stars in the finals, I think. And so we're watching Scott Stevens hoist the cup up, and he's kissing the cup and all that stuff. And oh man, that just made me sick.
Man,
so
I'm glad I was born in Western Pennsylvania. Just say that.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, but I did. I did watch the Penguins go back to back in the early '90s. I was watching hockey at that time. I was a huge Lemieux guy. I loved those OG Penguins, the black and the yellow. When it was the skating penguin back in the early '90s version. I loved when prime mullet, Yager mullet. I love those Penguins jerseys.
Oh, those teams are so insane too.
Oh man, Barrasso,
you, Francis,
Stevens, all those guys,
Larry Murphy, yeah, Joe Mullen, Yager, of course.
Yeah. When was that? Was pre-Kasperitis. Didn't Kasperitis come along in the late '90s? Wasn't he
Yeah, like mid-late '90s. He had a nice little career with us.
Who's the Panthers' big goon? Didn't Donna Brashear play for the Panthers for a while? Or that was Vancouver, I think.
Might be mixed up.
Oh, I think he did.
Everybody's got to have a couple of goons on the squad.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Were you guys watching when that fan fell over in the box with Ty Domi and Domi was about waylaid him 3 times and thought, maybe I ought to step out of this lawsuit right here and just keep my hands to myself.
Domi's, I can't stand Ty Domi.
Didn't his son
Some
play
of the stuff he did is funny. What's that?
Didn't his son play somewhere now?
Yeah, he was with the Leafs this year. He's a free
Okay.
agent again. He's just been signing 1-year deals. No one's really committed to him, but
I mean, you need a goon. That's your goons. You get 1 year and move on to the next one.
I mean, he's a solid little player. He's just not like he's not particularly good at one thing. He's kind of a prick. Decent scorer. He's not a complete liability defensively. He's fine in the face-off circle, but he does none of those things like exceptionally well.
Yeah.
Kind of want the Pens.
Good third line guy.
Snag him if
third line stuff.
Take $3 million or something, but the Panthers are going to have an interesting offseason because they have, I think, 13 guys under contract next year. They have about $20 million in space. So
is that a lot in hockey?
Not for how much they have to fill.
Yeah.
So
what about Bob?
Zito's one of the best, though. Bob has 2 more years.
But 2 more years.
He's 35. I mean, what I'm getting at is this was the year for Florida. So glad they did it because
who beat him last
harder
year?
From here.
Nice.
Vegas?
Yeah.
Vegas.
That wasn't
Pretty easily, too.
Marc-Andre Fleury on that squad, was it?
No. They used a plethora of goalies. Logan Thompson, Aiden Hill were their main guys. Aiden Hill, particularly in the playoffs, but
yeah. I mean, if you'd have told me 5 years ago that the Panthers were going to win a cup with Sergei Bobrovsky, I would have told you I had some oceanfront property to sell you.
That's what's incredible to me is this guy was notorious all-time bad playoff performer.
Yes, he was.
But he's found it.
Him for Steve Mason.
He found it, and he lost it, and then he found it again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they played much better in front of him last night.
I think
the Panthers look like a totally different team. Like focused and disciplined, just when you play disciplined hockey, it's amazing the positive effects it can ripple out on the game when you play disciplined hockey, when you're not playing, selfish or out of control, when you're just like Saban said, when you do your job in front of you, things go well. And I thought Florida did a really good job of getting back to that last night. What made them so good.
I mean, I know that, goaltending, that's the most important job on that ice. But, I think Bob was very much a reflection of the team as a whole for those 3 games. So I think it's a little unfair to put it all on him.
No, it was not all on him.
Yeah.
They were rough. I mean, the last thing they needed to do was turn it into a track meet. I don't think anyone's beating Edmonton in a track meet. They'll skate anyone out of any building any night.
They're so fast.
But exactly what you said, Jeff. They just played discipline. There was no stupid penalties. The one on Kachuk that got called was ridiculous, by the way.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter now, but that trip was not a trip. That was nuts.
Yeah.
And I'm a Kachuk hater.
Worse. Yeah. Called a lot worse.
Yeah.
They haven't called a lot worse, I should say.
Yeah.
Maybe Gudis was the we didn't have something power play.
He's funny.
Yeah.
Well, it'd be like Florida would get a power play, and then 12 seconds into the power play, they would commit a penalty, and then it would be 4-on-4. Or at least game, 4, 5, or 5, 6, or 4, 5, and 6. It was kind of like that, and it was like every time Florida would get the power play, they would give it right back.
Yeah, and then finally that bit us in the butt when we had to go against the Knights. They just bullied us right back. Gudis could strong arm himself out of that one.
They really over officiate now, I think.
Yeah.
And Steve Kazari, he did most of the games this series. They didn't really use any alternates. They didn't rotate a lot. I personally never thought he was that great. And I thought it showed. There's just a lot of kind of
interesting.
I was saying earlier, a couple weeks ago, I think it's just choppy. The game was so choppy, and there's just no flow. It's just the gimme call, crazy. It drive me crazy. Anyway.
Nothing will touch you like bad hockey reffing, especially in in the Stanley Cup Finals or the Eastern Conference Finals, in a clutch spot, and then you get bad refereeing. You're just like, oh man.
Which do you think is worth, NHL or MLB referee?
I gotta say, I think MLB for the most part. There's a few really bad ones. All of them are generally pretty good. I've seen a lot of MLB umpires that maybe don't have the best zone, but they're consistent. I'm frozen.
I will say that.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah. Hold on.
I will say that they are more consistent in the majors. I will give you that.
But some of this, there was a Penguins game this year against the Rangers. I think the Rangers committed 2 or 3 penalties in the first period. And they just elbowed a guy in the head damn near, and they didn't get a call because we already had 3 power plays. We didn't do anything with it because our power play was awful. And then we blew a kiss at a guy, and it was a penalty. It's just that stuff drives me nuts. It's like I said, it's over officiating. It's trying to dictate the game. It's trying to make things fair. How it should be is if your team's not disciplined, you should have more power plays than the other team. Or you should commit more penalties than the other team, rather.
Blow a whistle for blowing a kiss. They just beat the shit out of each other.
Yeah. With
closed fists. And you're going to blow him a kiss, you're going to whistle him for that. Come on, man.
It's just crazy.
Is it heavily unionized like it is in the MLB? I'm assuming.
I'm sure it is.
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. Are they full-time refs, or is it like the NFL where they're lawyers and whatnot during the week and then
blows my mind?
They're full-time. They are NHL referees.
Yeah. Which would make sense because there's games all throughout the week.
Mm-hmm.
It makes the NFL referees so much sadder knowing that.
Yeah, they're hotshot lawyers, and then they make $150,000 on a weekend for reffing an NFL game.
Yeah.
Jeez. Profits $35 billion for that.
A long time ago. These schmucks get paid to be wrong.
As long as the checks can cut.
Yeah, SEC refs too. Jeez.
Yeah. I guess my football ain't much better.
So a little bit different topic, but this is back-to-back years that the College World Series is all SEC teams. Was it like that the year before too? Is this the 3rd straight year this has happened?
LSU won it last year, right? Or last year?
Yeah, they beat Florida last year. Tennessee beat A&M this year.
The year before, was it Ole Miss, Mississippi State?
Yes, I believe so. One of those years, it was Ole Miss, Mississippi State.
Yeah. And then Mississippi State, Vanderbilt. So maybe 4 years in a row.
God.
Yeah, Ole Miss.
Good luck, Oklahoma and Texas, coming to the SEC in baseball.
The state of Mississippi dominating 21 and 22.
Yep.
Because Mississippi State and then Ole Miss, right? Or vice versa?
Yeah, Ole Miss, then LSU. Then Vandy right before that. Well, and then we had the canceled COVID year. So there wasn't even.
Yeah. Alabama probably would have won it that year.
Yeah. And then
they were good. They were really good. Didn't they start off 19-0?
Something like that.
19-0.
And the season got canceled.
Tennessee was unreal. Only 13 losses. That is insane.
Yeah, they were.
I think they went 60-13 and hit, I think, the second most homers all time in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Weren't they ranked top 5 at the beginning of the season too? So they just basically stayed that path the entire time.
Yeah. They were a top 5 team last year too. That coach has done a really nice job, and I can't remember. I don't watch a ton of college baseball. It's kind of hard to keep up with it because it's not posted everywhere. But
usually postseason, once the SEC tournament starts, is normally when or if there's a big series on a weekend, I'll tune it in. I do watch LSU baseball a good bit.
I struggle with college baseball because I use the ESPN app to notify me when a game's about to start, and I can't do that for college baseball unless I manually go in there and tell me, notify me.
Yeah. Same thing with softball.
Yeah, softball, same boat.
Does the same thing with softball because I try to do that with the Bama softball games, and I always get the final. I look up and it's like, oh, I won 3-1. I'm like, what?
Well, damn, I would have watched that.
I know. I was sitting at home today doing nothing. I could have watched that. But yeah, I think they were 60-13. Tennessee was, but a couple of years ago they won 59 games and lost in the super regionals. I think Notre Dame knocked them out of the supers when they had a really good team a few years ago. So Tennessee is usually pretty stacked in baseball.
We almost had 6 years in a row where the SEC won every year. Oregon State won in 2018, and before that, Florida.
God, that was the Adley Rushman team.
Yeah.
Adley Rutschman, Andrew Vaughn, Nick Madrigal.
Vaughn was on that squad too?
Yeah, pretty sure.
Wow. Man, I didn't know that. He's a White Sox first baseman now.
Yeah.
I saw an article where A&M's coach might be going straight to Texas.
Oh, he is, yeah. Took the job.
Yikes.
After he eviscerated that guy and ended his career about how suggesting that is the worst thing ever. Also, I took this job to never have another job again. You're a schmuck. Ooh. Why don't you write that? Win. And then he's taking a paycheck and going to Cabo the day after. Get out of here.
Good Lord.
He did. He eviscerated that poor reporter who was dead right.
Yeah.
Talking about that's a personal question. What?
It's funny.
Personal.
It's damn funny.
Poor A&M, but I mean that's just. I mean I get it though because Franchione did us like that, and then he left the next day for Texas A&M and didn't even tell the team. Had sent a video message or something. Had Carl Torbush tell him, and so I was on front. I remember that, but I mean these Tuberville did the same thing. Man, you have to take me out in a pine box, and then he was introduced the next day as Auburn's coach. Or a couple days later as Auburn's coach or something like that. So that's so funny that you said that, Fonzie. I'm glad you said that because I was thinking about that today. Like that poor reporter just got slaughtered.
Yeah.
And then the next day he takes the gig.
I will say this. I think a lot of reporters are overzealous and ask bad questions, or not bad questions, but ask like the risky questions at the wrong time.
Badly timed questions.
Yeah, really, just poorly timed.
But at the same time, that A&M coach looks real bad today. Real bad.
I mean,
they landed. I saw like a video of them landing and everyone excited in the street and like congratulating them, welcoming home. And that dude went, packed up his office, and just left College Station. It's nuts.
He may not have even packed up his office funds. He may just said to hell with it. I don't care. I'll just buy all new stuff. I don't care.
It's crazy.
Guys, man, you can't ask a coach that though. I mean, no matter what, when you ask a coach that question, they're going to deny it. They're going to say, like Nick Saban, except Nick Saban, lucky enough that he had some time between him saying that and then him actually taking the job. It wasn't like the next day.
You almost need like the Curb Your Enthusiasm song to cut in, like the interview.
But like these reporters got to know that if I ask him about another job, I'm going to get either schmuck bag response like that poor reporter did last night, or I'm going to get a lie. They're not going to say, well, actually, yes, I'm interviewing after this press conference, or actually tomorrow I have a Zoom call. They're never going to admit it until they accept the job, and then they're gone. They don't have to worry about the fallout. But the reporters that ask them this, I understand they wouldn't be doing their job if they didn't, but they're going to get that same response from every single coach you ask that to.
Yeah.
Except the one who was at that woman's coach that learned that she got fired, and then she came to the press conference. And she's like, by the way, I just got fired. Any questions?
Yikes.
I was really hoping to see these kids grow, but I just got canned. So it's been real, guys.
You got to do the Mike Tomlin where he just walks away.
Yeah, he just turns and walks off. Well, that's the Tomlin move. Anytime any of the Pittsburgh media ask him a difficult question, he'll spin it away to make him sound like an idiot, and then he'll walk off. That's the Tomlin way.
Yeah.
That's why they just gave him a 3-year extension for having not won a playoff game in 8 years. Here's an extension. What?
He's got a winning record, though, I guess.
You kept Canada for 2.5 years. You should owe us money. You should coach the next 2 years for free, man.
Yeah, I had to watch that.
I mean, we're the one buying the tickets and paying the money, and you made us sit through that for 2.5 years when it was clear after 10 weeks in year one. Okay, this is not the answer. And for 2 more years he kept him.
You got to watch Kenny Two Clubs though.
Jesus Christ. I mean, we could do a whole show on my frustrations.
We could. Some of the things I've seen. It was a Pitt fan Twitter account talking about how Kenny Pickett is going to light the world on fire and embarrass the Steelers and
Not a chance.
take Jalen Hurts' job.
Yeah.
And everyone's going to feel sorry after that.
Hansi, is it Panther Pride? Is that the account?
Something like that, I think. I don't know.
I think I
very
follow that
generic
guy. I
pick.
think I see him in some of the comments that I'm reading when there's some Steeler stuff going on. I think he always pops in the comments with like, "You'll all see soon enough." I'm like, "What are you talking about? He's a backup. They just gave Jalen Hurts a 5-year deal."
Mac Jones has a better chance of taking the QB1 position than Kenny Pickett taking Jalen Hurts.
Oh my God.
Well, Kenny, like, even at Pitt, he had, one good year, really. He was fine the other years. He wasn't bad, but
He was just
he had
a guy.
that one good year when he was
4 years.
29 years old.
In his 5th year on campus.
He had that really good play. What was that, the fake out order?
Yes, that was my whole point. He had one highlight in 5 years at Pitt. It was one highlight. It was a fake slide. That's the only highlight they ever showed of him.
It's like
he threw 40-something touchdowns his last year there. That's the only highlight they showed of him. Lord of mercy. I mean, I honestly don't know what Steelers going to do at quarterback this year. I mean, they've upgraded the quarterback room. Is it enough to be a threat? Nah, I don't know. There's they got a big mountain to climb.
I think what's encouraging, though, is marginally better QB play last year would have taken this team.
Difference.
I mean, you saw what happened with Mason.
Mason Rudolph went 4-1 just by not sucking.
Yeah,
and I think Russ is. Say what you want. I think he's better than Mason Rudolph. Certainly better than Pickett. Agreed. I think Justin Fields' ceiling, is enough to warrant starts if they decide that's what's best. So I think overall the situation's 10 times better. It's just
completely agree.
I mean, Russell
new offense coordinator,
new offense, new offensive line. Now they drafted some really good offensive linemen. They better play them. I don't want to hear this. Like Broderick Jones didn't play for 9 weeks last year, even though he was way better than Chooks.
Mm-hmm.
And there's that Dan Moore talk again. Like he's going to be somewhere, and I'm like, they just can't cut this guy loose. But they've got some good linemen.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually the Razor Crest cockpit there, Nick.
Nice.
But yes, on the full screen you can see that's a Razor Crest cockpit. Yes, but thank you, Nick.
I don't know.
So they need these good linemen, these good young linemen, I think, to really make some noise.
They do. They need a receiver too. Maybe not Ayuk, but they need to do their damnedest to get a guy that can at least line up outside and take 60% of those snaps.
At least something they have to guard, where they can't just roll everything over to Pickens.
Yeah, is Pickens really?
We have. What's that?
Is Pickens really it? That's your big.
We have a bunch of depth. We went out and signed like 6 fourth receivers, and we also drafted a guy for the slot and signed like 4 other slot receivers. I don't know what the plan is there. I mean, Roman Wilson's going to start in the slot, and then
I'd say, isn't that the guy from Michigan?
Yeah. So I don't know what they're going to do. But
it'll be interesting.
Has Ayuk been ruled out from Washington? I feel like I had heard, but I feel like that'd be kind of
I
like.
don't even know what's going on at that front anymore, to be honest.
He's definitely not
Steelers for a while, and now it's just. I think he wants too much for his production personally, but you have to pay for that now. You have to pay receivers. So
yeah.
I know the Flyers that win a cup in 50 years, but it's been in the state of Florida for half a decade between Tampa and Florida.
Hockey capital of the world, 5 years.
Seriously. Like, what is happening?
It's that no income tax. Players love it.
Dude, yeah, everybody says, like, why the hell would you play for Florida? Yeah. Like, dude, why wouldn't you? All right.
Give those Euros the sun, no income tax, and
they're in.
You know,
beautiful women by the beach.
Yeah, freaking these European
easy sell.
You like to play the sport that you love, but how about in sunshine Florida? Yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, these guys coming from Russia, they ain't seen a girl in a bathing suit in their whole life.
Yeah.
And they walk out and they're at South Beach. They're like, well,
I'm in during spring break. Yeah, sign me up.
I know they host all their free agents the week of spring break in Miami. It's so weird.
Time's up perfectly.
Time's up perfectly. That's true, man. I've always wondered why. You know, think if the Marlins would ever spend any money. You know, the Heat put the Heatles together, but you know, I mean, just let the city recruit for you.
Yeah.
Well, someone broke it down too, like showing a typical like Canadian market, and if you make this much money, this is how much you take home. Versus Florida, if you make $2.5 million less, you're taking home the same pay. So it's. I mean, just the income tax structure alone, these players love it, and it allows teams like Florida and Tampa to go out and sign guys on cheaper deals that, you know, really help their cap situation. And cap's been stagnant, so every team's going to run into problems if they haven't already. But
is Bettman still the commissioner?
Yes, sadly.
The one that doesn't believe in concussions? Doesn't think concussions are real?
That guy.
Just rub some dirt on
it. That'll be fine. All right. Oh, man. Well, a good wrap up to the hockey season. And then it kicks back off when October. Isn't that when they off for 4 months? Because the playoffs last 2 months. I mean, every series goes 7 games, it seems like.
And the draft is Thursday or Friday and Saturday?
Thursday or Friday?
Yeah. Who's got first pick?
The Sharks do.
Oh, Sharks.
Oh, wow.
And then free agency starts Monday. So lots of exciting.
Lots of that going to be happening in the NHL. Is there a clear-cut number 1 pick in the draft this year? Like a Patrick Kane or a Crosby or somebody?
Macklin Celebrini.
Yeah.
I think Kane's actually not like a direct comp, but as far as like prospect hype, that's probably a good one. Don't think he's a superstar, but I think he's damn close. I mean, not a top 5 player in the league, but his potential is definitely, you know, top 10, top 15. So
the Flyers had the number 2 pick in the draft.
Do they?
The Patrick Kane draft. We had the number 2 pick.
Oh man.
Patrick Kane went number 1. We took James Van Riemsdyk at number 2.
Yep.
Like 1 pick away from Patrick Kane for a decade. Although I'm sure the Flyers would have botched that somehow, but still, we were 1 pick away from Patrick Kane for a decade.
To be fair, not a great draft. So you could have ended up with like, I don't know, I think Ian Cool got drafted. Kevin Shattenkirk. I think.
Oh,
what's his name? Shoot. Kyle Turris was in that draft. So Van Riemsdyk, like, not what you want out of the 2nd pick, but solid player.
He had a solid career. He played, 15, 17 years, played for Toronto for a number of years, was much more productive for Toronto than he was for the Flyers, which is, there's a long list of those. With Bobrovsky's name going on the cup, there's probably a whole all-star team full of former Flyers with their name on the cup now. It's like I feel like I'm watching an all-star game with former Pirates. You know, it's like every year there's a former Flyer smooching the cup after the finals is over. I'm like, son of a, seriously?
They have a great career just after.
They cut their teeth in Philly, and then they're like, okay, that's what it takes to win. And then they go elsewhere and apply it.
Yeah.
Like, We got Van Beesbrook after his prime in Florida in the mid 90s. That didn't work.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Stanley Cup droughts, and the Flyers have the second longest Stanley Cup with the Toronto Maple Leafs, which is kind of shocking.
Longest. Yeah.
How people talk about Toronto.
67.
Yeah.
Has it been that long? Man, Toronto's had some good teams over the last 50 years too. I can't believe they.
Without it.
I mean, they had Matt Sundin for like 15 years on that team.
Mm-hmm.
They never win anything. Now they got Austin Matthews. What, he scored like 70 goals this year?
Yeah.
Yeah, damn near.
I think he's from Texas, isn't he? Or California?
Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. He's American. Shocking.
I think he's born in California, but he grew up playing in Phoenix area.
Which is killer mustache.
But
very killer mustache.
I think the best playoff beard mustache combo was Crosby as he was getting into puberty.
Oh yeah.
Like it didn't connect for like 7 or 8 years. It was just like beard and mustache with no connecting bars.
Yeah.
Well, Malkin's was pretty bad too.
What?
Even in the most recent cup runs, they were terrible. He was 30.
Those Russian beards, man. They don't. Canadian and Russian beards don't come in like good old American beard.
No.
Some of those guys would get really good beards that would like be bushing out of their chin strap of their helmet.
Like Thornton.
Oh my gosh. You know what's so funny is seeing Thornton with that big bushy beard, and every time I think Joe Thornton, I think about his draft pick, and he looked like his draft picture, and he looked like he's about 16.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
For the Bruins, like way back in the day, and then seeing him all those years later for the Sharks, in that big grizzly playoff beard, and I was like, Joe Thornton's like 47.
Oh man, by the time with the Panthers, is all gray. He's got that salt and pepper look to it. It's like watching your grandpa play hockey.
He's about that old.
Yeah.
Didn't Zdeno Chara play for the Panthers for a couple of years?
I don't know.
I don't think so.
He was with Bruins and some Bruins for many years.
He was with the Islanders.
Okay, maybe it was the Islanders I was thinking of, not the Panthers.
And then I think the Capitals. And then early in his career, he was with Ottawa and the Islanders. But he's known for his
Ottawa. That's
Ottawa
what I was thinking. Ottawa, I was thinking red uniform or red in the uniform. So that's why I thought he may have been used to play for the Panthers. But.
Yeah, that's where he kind of broke out.
Nostalgic going down these old hockey memories.
Yeah, only 9 teams left now that have won a Stanley Cup.
They have not won one?
Yeah, I was looking at it. Ottawa's one of them.
Yeah,
man, they've been around a long time too, haven't they?
Some of the more newer teams,
90s.
That's why they haven't won yet.
Of course, Winnipeg. There's 2 iterations up there. Aren't the Coyotes moving?
Yeah, Utah.
Salt Lake
I wonder what they're going to be. Are they going to be the Salt Lake Coyotes?
The Salt Lake.
The Utah Hockey Club or hockey team or something to start.
The Salt Lake City Soakers.
They should be.
That's a great name.
That's a good one, yeah.
The Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah. That's the best we came out with, guys.
Well, they were going to come out with the name. They voted on it. But I don't think they decided in time. So they're just rolling with Utah Hockey Club for this year. All the names suck, though. It's like Utah Yetis. It just feels, they all feel like video game names to me. I don't mean to rain on their parade, but.
From the PlayStation 2 days, we couldn't get the rights to NHL, so let's just come up with some names.
Yeah, it's just so
They didn't have the naming rights.
For
the 2K Sports version of the hockey game.
But I don't know. We'll see. They'll come up with something.
Reminds me of the Washington football team. Screw it. We're just the Washington football team.
It's sad. They should have kept that because that's way better than the
Commanders.
It's way better than
the Commanders. Commanders is so lame.
Yes. That's the lamest ever. They should have just kept Washington football team. That was so much better.
Talk about a design that just has zero personality to it.
Welcome to Washington. I mean, Cleveland's even like, oh gosh, guys.
Washington as a whole.
So these were the 6 finalists for Utah in their name. Let's see. Utah Blizzard. Yuck. Utah Hockey Club. Utah Mammoth. Utah Outlaws. It's not bad.
Yeah.
Outlaws isn't bad.
Utah Venom. Again, what are we doing?
Well, Utah Venom.
This isn't a Cartoon Network show.
It's a Marvel comic.
Utah Yeti, which
someone just watched Tom Hardy was just, oh yeah, they call it Utah.
Somebody just got there watching Venom and threw their vote in there.
The Avs already have Yeti branding. Colorado Avalanche.
Yeah.
So I don't even know how that'd work. So hopefully they get someone a little creative in there. Do something.
That one wasn't bad. Utah Hockey Club or that one you said that wasn't bad.
Utah
Outlaws feels reasonable.
Yeah, that's not bad. Although Utah Hockey Club is better than all the rest of those. I would be cool with Outlaws, but the rest of them are just what? Blizzard?
Yeah.
What? Blizzard. No.
I'm going to be very upset if they don't pick the right name, and I'm going to write them and tell them how upset I am as a hockey fan.
I need the link to this survey where you get to submit your names. I'll put some good stuff in there.
I'll put some really good names in there. And some really good mascot choices.
Send in. I think they'll do well there, though.
I think so, too.
Phoenix was a disaster. Not the market itself, just the ownership was very poor, and I think they ultimately just ownership ran that franchise into the ground. I think hockey could work there. I think the NHL will be there in the next decade again. They just need to.
Don't they get a chance in like 5 years or so to like resubmit a bid or something? I was reading.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be surprised.
As long as they get new ownership, resubmitting the bid. They don't need to. I think those old owners don't go to Utah.
Top 5 TV market.
Better idea than Forsyth. Yeah, that's a great place to put a freaking hockey team, Georgia.
Oh yeah.
They used to be the original Winnipeg Jets, right? When they moved to Phoenix.
Yep.
Yes.
Because the Whalers moved to be the Avalanche in the early 90s.
When they left, the
Whalers moved to Carolina. The Nordiques.
The Nordiques, you're right. The Quebec Nordiques.
Quebec City.
Shout out to the Hartford Whalers logo, though. That was one of the coolest logos on the front of a hockey sweater, I think.
Nordiques was good too, but both those franchises.
Yeah, the Nordiques with that hockey stick and the igloo and the hockey stick.
Yeah, and the guy with the toque.
Yeah, that was a pretty cool. That was young Joe Sakic there.
Yeah. I always forget he was on the Nordiques, but he was.
Yeah.
What happens in those situations where they go somewhere else and they rebrand? Does wherever they went still own the rights to that original team name and logo or whatever?
So, in the Coyotes case, they retain the rights to everything, all the branding.
Okay,
Phoenix
so they didn't go to
the Coyotes. The NHL took it back today. So I believe the former owner sold the rights. He's moving the AHL team to Reno, Nevada.
Okay.
This is more of a complex business question, so I don't know if I could give you a good answer, but the
Okay.
NHL retained the rights. So at that point, you got to think that Arizona Coyotes are coming back at some point. But
Okay, I didn't know if it kind of worked like the NFL, where when the Houston Oilers went to Tennessee, Tennessee can still do the throwback jerseys, but they're not called the Oilers anymore.
Yeah,
Not
I got
much.
a problem with that too. Tennessee wearing the Oilers throwbacks.
Weren't that the
Texans
Oilers for
should
like a
do it.
year and then quickly changed to
Yes.
Titans? Yeah.
Yes.
It just didn't make
Texans should wear Oilers throwbacks.
Yeah.
The city is about that, the Oilers, not the franchise, in my opinion. The Oilers mean zip to Nashville. Nobody gives a crap in Nashville about the Houston Oilers, but the people in Houston, the community in Houston, I think would be way better,
Nashville known for its oil.
right? I mean,
Surprised.
there's a reason they didn't keep the Oilers, and I don't think it was because of the naming rights. I think they were in Tennessee and were like, we need something that's Tennessee.
Yeah.
They were the Oilers. They were the Tennessee Oilers for that 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
Like that made a lot of sense.
Tracking in my backyard for years. You'd be surprised.
Well, it's like the Utah Jazz. They kept the Jazz when they moved the team from New Orleans.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jazz.
And it's like, wait, what?
That
And
one
then
makes
it's
no
just
sense.
stayed all these years.
It kind of flows. And like,
Yeah, it does now. But same with the Lakers. It used to be
Synonymous.
Minneapolis Lakers because
Yeah,
of all the lakes in Minnesota, and there's no lakes in Los Angeles.
That was actually one of our trivia questions that we had. It's Minneapolis Lakers.
It's wild how some teams will keep the mascot or the team name even when they move the team, and then some owners will just blow everything out of the water. I think Charlotte's done it a couple times. They were the Bobcats for a while because of the owner was Bob Johnson, and then Jordan bought them and said, "Yeah, we're going back to the Hornets."
Yeah.
And they still sucked, and then Jordan sold them, and I think he sold them or he's trying to sell them, something like that.
Yeah, I have a buddy that's from Charlotte. The Hornets have like a historical meaning behind it for the city. So
Gotcha.
that's why they wanted to change back. The Panthers make no sense.
I wish the Steelers would go retro forever.
You can see that.
The Ravens used to be the
Go back
Pirates. So the
to the block
Pittsburgh used to
number.
have 2 Pirates.
I just meant the block
kind of
numbers.
Have some crossovers, but
You can see that for
I just want
the teams.
the block numbers back.
they're good. They're real good.
What about the Bumblebee era?
Bumblebee tuna.
Yeah.
That's good for like a game. A throwback to the Bumblebees. Yeah, it's great. Now, moving on.
Yeah.
But the really cool uniforms I hadn't worn in a while were the yellow helmets and the black unis and the white pants. With
Oh,
the
those
yellow
were
block
great.
numbers.
Those
Those were awesome, dude. Those were friggin' awesome.
Are those 60s?
Yes.
60s throwbacks, yeah.
Those were
Those are
awesome.
nice.
So like the Terry years or something? Or no, he was 70s. Never mind.
He was the 70s.
Yeah.
But I love the block numbers from the 70s, like the Iowa jersey. Look basically like the Iowa jerseys now. I think that's where the Iowa took them from.
Mm-hmm.
But those block numbers were just awesome. I'm not a fan of the number style that they've been using for the last 20, 30 years, however long.
No, I'm
It's
with
not
you.
my favorite style of number, but
Oh, yeah. That's really old.
I think the best Falcon unis were the black ones of the Michael Vick experience, and they would wear black pants, black uniform, and black helmet.
Yeah.
But they would wear those white pants and the red uniform with the Matt Ryan. They always wore those uniforms at home, and I was like, those uniforms are so ugly. Go black, man.
Yeah. The black is so much better.
So much cooler looking, which they might can do now that Penix is in the mix. But I guess Matt Ryan was too slow and to make those black ones look any good. When Vic's flying around the field running a 4.2, and then you get Matt Ryan with his Dan Marino knee brace.
Yeah. They actually sell those jerseys, and a part of me wants to buy one, but I can't justify unless it's got a Bama boy on it.
Are there any BAMs on the Falcons still?
I don't think anymore. I can't get a Bijan.
Ridley the last go?
Yeah.
They have Helms, don't they?
Is he
Is
still
he
there?
on the Falcons?
I thought he left.
He was, but
You may be right, Fonz.
I'm looking right now. Need to find this out. Let's see. They have Jace McClellan and DeMarco Helms, yeah.
Oh, well, yeah, he just drafted Jace. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so they do have Helms. Okay, so they got a couple now. All right.
Maybe I could justify it now.
Hey, Jace might get some PT ATL this year.
Yeah.
Backing up Bijan. He might
Yeah, I
be.
hope so.
There might be have some in the mix for him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he could have been a real productive. He was productive for us, but I think he could have been a lead back in terms of, he split carries basically his whole career. But I think if he would have been the featured guy one year, you would have seen like a Glenn Coffey type year from him.
Yeah.
For
It's
sure.
funny with the Falcons design. Their vintage design is basically just the Georgia Bulldog colors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit different red. than Georgia, but very similar.
Got that bright red to it.
Yeah. Well, there's always so then over the summer, as we approach opening day for NHL next year, like Fonzie said, there'll be a lot of stuff happening in free agency and the draft. Flyers guy that we drafted 6th or 7th a couple of years ago from been playing in the KHL. Yeah, he announced today that he's coming to the NHL next year. So we'll see if he's any good. You know, we picked that guy a couple of years ago at number 2, and suddenly had migraines, had to retire.
That
Nolan Smith, I think.
Patrick. Yeah,
Nolan Patrick. Yeah.
I think that draft was really bad, personally. I don't think Patrick was a typical second pick at all. I think he was more
especially if he had that history of
12th
migraines.
Yeah. But Michkov, real deal. I really liked him. He got drafted last year. I thought he was the second best player in the draft behind Bedard, personally. Fantilli and Carlson went 2 and 3, and they were both really good. No, he's a forward. He's a winger.
Forward, okay.
The only thing that kind of made him drop was his contract status. You know, he's playing in the KHL and Russia, and those guys are hard to get over here. But
that's true.
SKA,
they can make a lot of money.
Petersburg released him from his contract, so I hate it because I think he's going to be a beast, and I don't want to deal with that in the division. But
what's his first name?
Matvey.
I knew it started with an M.
Yeah, Matvey Michkov.
Well, I hope. You know, about time we needed some explosive offensive players. It seems like it's been a while since we really had one, like a long while, too long.
Yeah, Flyers got 12th pick in the first round
this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it looks like Penguins would have had 14th, but they gave it to San Jose.
Yep, the Erik Karlsson trade.
Mm-hmm. Was that mid-season, or was this last year?
It was last off season. We traded a bunch of our garbage contracts for a first round pick for Erik Karlsson. So
is he still on the team?
He's still on the team. I mean, he's very good, but there's a lot of issues with the Penguins that I think, we fired Ron Hextall, who really kind of tanked our organization.
Yeah, the Flyers have done that a couple of times, fired Ron Hextall, so I'm with you there.
I mean, jury's kind of out on – we hired Kyle Dubas, who was the Toronto GM, really like him. But it's going to take a couple years, I think, to kind of get us on the right track. And obviously Crosby's, 37, going to be 37. Letang's going to be 37. Malkin's going to be 38. Karlsson, great player. He's going to be 34. So it's going to be an interesting few years. I just want
so wild that Malkin and Crosby are pushing 40.
1 or 2 more chances in the playoffs. I don't expect us to win another cup, but I just want to.
Who's y'all's goalie? Who's y'all's prime goalie? Do you have a guy, or is it just kind of a committee?
It was Jari. We signed him to a big deal. Towards the end of last year, our backup, Alex Nedeljkovic, kind of took over. So we re-signed Nedeljkovic, and we still have Jari. But Tristan Jari is rumored to be on the trade block. So jury's out on that too. I don't know what the goalie situation is going to be in a couple months, but we'll see.
Did the Bruins get rid of Tuukka Rask?
He retired.
Did they trade him? He retired? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. All right. I couldn't remember if they got rid of him or if he retired. I know it was weird seeing Patrick Kane on the Red Wings this year. That was odd.
He's on the Rangers after the trade deadline last year too.
Yeah. He's
still a hawk to me. It's just so weird.
He signed, I guess, a 1-year deal with the Red Wings this year, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Chicago's got.
I think Taves retired too. I think Jonathan Taves retired too, because I hadn't seen him in several years.
Yeah, Taves retired.
Chicago had the first pick last year, right?
Yep.
Man, now they got the second pick. What is it?
Oh yeah, they tanked.
Man,
who'd they pick last year?
Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's incredible. He's the next Crosby, McDavid. You name it. He's that type of player. I really like him.
Just too young, is it? Or there's a lot of.
Oh, I mean, he had a great year. He got hurt. They're young. They're a really young team. A lot of their prospects aren't quite ready yet. But he's just a transitional player. He's going to transcend that whole franchise. They just need to kind of build around them, and they have a ton of draft stock. So, as long as they draft moderately well, they'll be right in the mix in 2-3 years. So
it's coming. I like seeing some of these young players when they start developing. It's a hard league to play in when you're that young. I mean, sure. You rarely see. I mean, there's Austin Matthews, Connor McDavid, or once our generational, transcendent players. But you rarely see young rookies come in and light up the NHL. I mean, it's too physical a league. The veterans are too prideful, and I mean it's a tough league to come in and play in. As high draft picks, sometimes it takes guys several years to work their way up through the minors, just to get up to the NHL. So it's a tough league to play in.
Tough. I think that speaks to Sid, though. I mean, his first year he put up 102 points. I'm diatribing here, so you don't have to listen. You can block me out. But I mean, he's top 3 player of all time. He's got to be
yes.
He came in as a rookie, 102 points. He was getting abused every night. Second year, they're right in the playoffs. And you look at those rosters. He didn't have much help. Obviously, Gino, and Fleury was very good. Gonchar, Letang, I know all of it, but it's
he was the straw. Without him, none of those guys are who they are.
It's crazy that in his third year he is playing for a cup as the main cog in the machine, and then won one in his fourth.
If you think how much pressure was on him coming in, living with Lemieux when they first drafted him, he lived with Mario Lemieux. I mean, it doesn't get any greater than that in Pittsburgh than Mario freaking Lemieux. And so instantly out of the gate, he's already, compared the next Lemieux, or he's already got the pressure of living up to the legacy Lemieux set. And I think Mario Lemieux is the second greatest player of all time. I mean, it's easy to say Gretz. I think it's between Lemieux and Gretzky in terms of the greatest of all time. But some of those numbers Gretzky put up, it's like Wilt Chamberlain numbers that you'll never even see anywhere close.
I think it's a discussion about stats versus talent.
Yeah.
And
if you look at points per game, Lemieux's more. I think points per game. If you break it down just points per game. I mean, Mario Lemieux is just a beast.
I think Gretz just kind of transitioned the NHL itself. He's just considered one of the greatest athletes of all time.
Yeah. I mean, he was putting up just insane numbers, 90 goals, 150 assists.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? If you score 150 points in the NHL this year, you're a badass. And one of those years, that's how many assists Gretzky had. I mean, 240 points or some crazy number like that. Look at Hockey Reference. I mean, just those early Edmonton teams, different style of hockey, I think, but those early Edmonton teams were so stacked. They had no shot. Messier, Yari Curry, Wayne Gretzky, on a line, that's not fair.
Yeah.
I mean, all those. I mean, Grant Fuhrer and net. I mean, geez. Andy Moog was his backup. I mean, Andy Moog's a Hall of Fame goalie.
I think what killed Lemieux was his health, though. Honestly,
his body.
I'm obviously a Pittsburgh fan, so whatever I say is, you can call me biased, whatever. But
that's what we
you just look at his numbers and then look at the games he played. It's he played as many games as Gretzky. He's potentially exceeding that.
Yes, I totally agree.
I think defensively he's better. Physically, he's more of a presence. I think it's hard to argue Gretzky's. He's the great one. He's always going to be considered the best of all time, but I certainly think there's a debate to be had.
Yes, I think Lemieux was a better all-around player. If you get in a vacuum, who's the best forward, in a vacuum. Is it Gretzky a better scorer? Well, not by points per game, but he scored a lot of goals. But he got a lot of us. I mean, he was in the right spot in the right situation. But an argument could be made for Lemieux. I agree. I like to go look at points per game. Because when they were on the ice, Lemieux's body just started breaking down on him, and then he missed a couple years with a back injury, and then he came back. And in the late 90s and
twice, yeah.
I just remember, that 97 playoff run for the Flyers, we beat the Penguins in the Eastern Conference Finals, I think, or the semifinals. And there's that play of Lemieux going after a loose puck and Lindros basically blowing past him, scooping it up and chipping it in the empty net. And it was kind of like the passing of the torch, so to speak, because I think Lemieux retired after that and then came back a couple years later. But, he was older and his back was, he was just a shell of himself when he came back. But
so he had cancer, retired, and then later in the early 2000s came out of retirement.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
When did he retire the first time? That was like 98.
That was 97.
97.
That was after the 97 season. And then he played
from out of the playoffs.
2000 to I think Sid's rookie year, and then he retired in the middle of that season.
Is he still the team president?
Nope, he sold his share.
He sold it
to the Fenway Group. So the Penguins are Boston owned.
See, a lot of people forget that Scotty Bowman was the Penguins coach in those early 90s Cups.
Yep.
Most folks only remember him as the Red Wings, as a Red Wings coach. But, young Scotty Bowman, man. Penguins should have held on to him. Hindsight, obviously, but I'm not sure why they moved on from him.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you either. I mean, hockey was so different back then, just financial constraints and everything else. It's crazy how much the league has just grown. Everyone holds the relocation talks against the Penguins, but if you look at those years when the Penguins were considering relocating to Kansas City and were in bankruptcy, I think there was maybe 4 teams that turned a profit, and it was New York, Chicago. It wasn't
like major market teams, only ones making money.
Yeah, it was. I mean, Ovechkin and Crosby really saved the league, I think, as far as.
And man, if Ovechkin had played in New York or Chicago or even LA, I mean, he just, he unfortunately played in Washington, which, he got plenty of recognition, Hall of Fame player in Washington. But I think if he had gone to a market like New York or Chicago or somewhere that a lot of people around here would know that name a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
I mean, he's 41 goals off, or 42 goals. He's 42
from the
goals.
record, right?
His record.
Yeah.
So.
And he's been with Washington the whole time. That's nuts. That is like him and Crosby, like side by side with one franchise for 20 years.
Yep.
Leading them to Stanley Cup. Well, only one for Ovechkin, but I think Crosby's got 3, right?
Crosby has 3. Yep.
And lost 2 or lost 1, 3-1 or 3-2 in the finals. Lost the 1 to 08.
Mm-hmm.
Did
08 against the Red Wings.
Yeah.
Got our revenge the next year.
But got the revenge next year. Yeah, I was pulling hard for the Penguins that year, and I like the Red Wings too. But I was pulling hard for the Penguins that in 08 and 09. I was wanting them to win those two.
Oh, the Red Wings.
So I was happy in 09.
Kind of Patriots-esque, where it's if you grew up like a 90s or 2000s hockey fan, which obviously I was born in 97, so I don't remember the Russian 5. I only know the stories.
Yeah, see, that was when I was really getting into hockey, was the Russian 5, and then the big rivalry with Colorado, in the playoffs. Y'all were too young, obviously, but if you go back and read history, the Dino Ciccarelli hit by what's his name, the goon for Colorado in New Jersey. He was on New Jersey for a while too. Claude Lemieux.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He checked a Red Wings player into the boards and just mangled his face all up. He had had to have a bunch of plates in his face and all that, and so that kind of really started that Avalanche Red Wings rivalry. And then the big fight the next year when they played again, they had the huge brawl where Mike Vernon and Patrick Waugh were fighting in mid ice. And Vernon kicked his ass all over the ice. That was pretty funny. But that's really like, and I was big time in Eric Lindros's prime. So that's really when I was really got into hockey and really was learning about hockey. So, but watching these finals this year kind of re-energized my hockey itch. So I'm gonna have to look into how I'm gonna get hockey games on TV next year because I don't have ESPN Plus. So
it was a pleasure watching all these upset Canadians. His dreams crumble to the state of Florida.
They have no souls anyway, so
Yeah,
I'm sure they felt anything. They're on the metric system. You can't trust them.
Yeah.
Well, boys, this was a fun show, man. I could sit and talk hockey all night. I love talking hockey, so this was a good time. Murph, congratulations. They didn't make it easy on you. When you're up 3-0, you're just like, okay, we'll win it at home. Okay, maybe not. We'll win on the road. Well,
they finished the hunt. Go Cats.
So they won it at home. I love when teams win it at home. It's fun watching teams win on the road too, but I like watching something like that happen in front of the home crowd. Just everything they put into the team this year, and that place was loud, man. And that place got loud when it needed to. So kudos to the Panthers, man. Congrats to the Panthers. Congrats to you for your team winning the whole thing. It's awesome. Now, both of you guys know what it's like for your team to win a cup. I was not born yet the last time my team won the cup. So I only know Stanley Cup defeat. Maybe one day.
One day.
Maybe this new guy from the KHL will be that spark. He'll have 13 goals and 11 assists and playing 50 games.
I'm officially ready for football. Five more
Yes,
seconds.
man, we need some football. Recruiting news is big too. A lot of Debo slaying recruiting right now, and Courtney Morgan. These guys are killing recruiting. Hollywood Williams on the front line recruiting. Keelan Russell on the front line recruiting. The guys are recruiting for us. Debo don't have to do nothing but play golf. Players are doing all the recruiting for him.
It's incredible.
But we're getting some studs. A new version of the Rideouts is coming. A new version of the Rideouts is coming. Because they want to play with Keelan Russell. And in a couple of years, we're going to see.
We're winning the offseason at least.
We're not losing it, that's for sure. I mean, Georgia's going to finish strong. They always do. But things could have turned a lot worse for us in this transition. And they hadn't skipped a beat.
I had faith. I was going to be shocked if it was just going to be such a nosedive. Granted, we haven't played anything yet, but I'm still.
You've got to get the players in. And how could you be on offense and not want to play for this guy? So, yeah. But anyway, so good show tonight, boys. Tons of hockey talk. I love it. A little bit of baseball, a bit of football. Paul Skeens is still undefeated, even though they tried to lose it for him the other night when they had one hit after he went 7 shutout innings. They had one hit to back him up.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to get into it. They make me upset. But I'll be in Atlanta this weekend for the game. So.
Oh, really?
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. I'll,
by the way, Scott, our work trip is in Nashville next June. So,
oh, boy.
Murph, you'll have to make plans to come up to Nashville that weekend. We'll have powwow. Because, Park will be in Nashville on June 20th through 23rd. That's when our work meeting is.
All right.
So
I'll be around.
We'll have a couple free nights in there. So Parker and I were talking about that this year. We're going to try to talk you into driving up, Murph, and then get with Fonzie and try to organize a meetup for all of us to meet up somewhere and have a few cold tops.
Yeah, sounds like a good time.
Anyway, but we'll communicate that closer we get. Boys, good show, great show. Go Panthers. Looking forward to next hockey season. Football right around the corner. It's about that time. So till next time, fellas, roll Tide.
Roll Tide and go Cats.
Go Cats.